This hour has 22 minutes.
Good evening. For the next few weeks, this hour has 22 minutes is on twice a week. Mondays at 11 and Fridays at 8:30. It is now one of those two times.
Tonight, we're actually recycling some of the stories we've brought you in the past. This hour, groundbreaking envirotainment.
Composting has never been more fun.
Well, I think we're just about ready. So, Hank, roll that show.
Russian ultranationalist leader Vladimir Zhirinovsky has said that any NATO strike against Bosnian Serbs would be considered a declaration of war against Russia. Zhirinovsky, pictured here on the top, has said that some of his best friends are Bosnian Serbs and went out and got naked with one of them to prove his point. Now, the naked man in this recent Reuters press photo, whom Zhirinovsky identified only as Big Mary, was quoted as saying, "Don't mind Vlad, he's just bitchy in the morning."
First, Air Canada unveiled its new logo, a 6-meter-high red maple leaf on an evergreen background, representing, according to its American designers, all things Canadian. At a cost of 22 million Canadian dollars, this American makeover, according to Air Canada's American CEO, Harris Hollis, will increase the struggling carrier's revenue. Now, in its continuing commitment to high profits at whatever cost, Air Canada today revealed its new policy: non-stop direct flights only from Vancouver to Toronto, with drop-offs in Winnipeg, Regina, Calgary, and Edmonton. Air Canada and you.
The U.S. Navy has named a ship after a well-known entertainer. The United States naval ship USNS Bob Hope will be commissioned this year. Not to be outdone, the Canadian Navy launched its own vessel earlier this week.
A houseboat HMCS Ralph Benmergui.
All across the country, Canadians in every town, city, and hamlet, Canadians from all walks of life and all shapes and sizes are revolting. They are revolting in the workplace, revolting in the streets, and especially revolting in lineups at the supermarket. What would cause these once dignified and well-mannered people to exhibit this revolting behavior? Sources say the cause is Preston Manning and something about taxes. I understand that, but is there any cause for someone to put their finger at the side of their nose like that and just blow? I don't think so. Get a hanky, and then we'll talk lower taxes.
I am Frank McMillan. For this hour has 22 minutes. We are here to meet and greet the Liberal elite and Pierre Elliott Trudeau. We are hungry. We have not eaten. We did watch Trudeau eat. He was wrestling with some melon. We were not offered any food. I'm somewhat hungry. The cameraman is very hungry. His blood sugar's low. Apparently he's having some kind of rift with his better half. They're in the middle of some kind of trial separation, but enough about that. We're here to ask Trudeau the kind of penetrating question we are known for.
Frank McMillan.
First of all, it was a pleasure to meet you, sir.
Thank you,
I was
Frank.
wondering if Quebec separates, who gets the Montreal Canadiens?
At last I get the question. When I announced my retirement in February.
He talked of Herodotus, Homer, and the Greeks. But I heard not what he said, for he had spoken my name. And off he went. Our historic encounter had come to an end. Objective, dispassionate journalism be damned. This was a day for both of us to remember forever.
On assignment, J.B. Dixon takes an insider's look at racial intolerance in a feature-length, documentary-styled investigative report. This hour's very own J.B. Dixon fearlessly dons hidden audio and video surveillance equipment. After undergoing 17 hours in an intensive cultural immersion and makeover. J.B. Dixon, now a new man, takes to the streets and social clubs of this country that we call Canada. In the weeks to come on This Hour Has 22 Minutes, a shocking report. Seek like me.
Does she mean it, or is she just goofing around? Here's Babe Bennett.
Well, what do you think of that, huh? With the new reproductive technology, a gal no longer has to stand on her head and spit nickels to have a baby. In fact, now they can take an egg from a younger gal and plant it in an older dame's womb. But now, there's a doctor in France who says it's immoral for a gal to have a baby in her later years. Immoral? He can't mean that. He must be goofing around. On the other hand, when an older guy who ought to be cagged off in a chair with a pea bag on his leg gets a gal in the family way, it's let the bells ring out and the banners fly. What I'd like to know is, how moral is it for a guy whose idea of sex toys is a couple of tongue depressors secured by broccoli elastics to be having children anyway? How hard does it have to be for a guy in his 60s to have a child anyway? Well, I guess it'd have to be a little bit hard, wouldn't it? But I don't think it'd be nearly as hard as, say, for a guy in his 20s with no career established or anything. I'm just kidding. I'm just goofing around. Well, why oughtn't a gal have a baby at whatever age she wants? It's not like she can't handle it. Why, gals handle everything these days. But you know, I can't help thinking there's a reason why women run out of eggs in their 50s or so. Just when the kids are gone, the dishwasher's humming, the divorce is final, she's on a bit of a break, I guess. Why, if a gal in her 60s said to me she wanted to have a baby and read the Velveteen Rabbit another 400 times, I'd say she was crazy. I'd say she was fooling. I'd say she was goofing around.
And Americans were surprised to wake up on New Year's Day to the newly erected death clock.
The clock tallies the number of gun-related deaths in the United States up to the very second. While handguns are not considered a problem in Canada, we face an equally deadly foe every day. In response to these winter tragedies, Health and Welfare Canada has erected Canada's very first shoveler's clock.
You've seen her in bed, you've seen her in the bath. Now it's time to take the big plunge with our very own Marg Delahunty.
Hi, I'm Marg Delahunty. And while I've never actually been fat, I've always been husky, thick, a little bit on the fluffy side. You know, she's a big girl for 12. So there I was this morning in the fortress of solitude, surrounded by the moat of misery, my home, when I inadvertently caught a glimpse of myself in the blank TV screen. There I was in all my glory, hove off on the couch looking like I was retaining the St. Lawrence Seaway. I was in the horrors, but through sheer stamina and a relentless desire for self-degradation, I hauled myself out to the mall and into one of them little squatty dressing rooms to try on bathing suits. You know, in a recent survey, over 70% of the women surveyed said that they would rather be hit by a truck than gain 150 pounds. Well, of course, they'd rather be hit by a truck. At least there's some odds that you'd survive the impact of a truck, where there's not a chance in hell you'd ever be able to crawl out from underneath that extra 150 pounds of weight. So here I am, up to my neck in chlorinated urine, having the time of my life. Well, of course I'm not going to give up the smolioles now. Not just when they're taking the taxes off them. Oh, smokes, the swimmer's friend.
Next Sunday, The Memoirs of Jerry Boyle, Part 2, the final chapter.
Well,
When it was asked, how did you get into politics, Jerry? Critics have said I was merely drawn to Parliament because of that rumoured free buffet. But the truth is, I was forced into actually having a career when my parents served me a summons, forcing me to evacuate their attic. Something in the fire regulations prohibiting attic habitation. And if there were two things my folks always worried about, it was fire regulations and actually having me inside their house. My critics those early political years were many. I remember one in particular would say, "Go away, Jerry. We don't care where you are on the issues. We'd like to know where you are on the evolutionary ladder." Many times when musing, I have thought how much my political career has been so like a toboggan ride. You try to go up to the top, then you end up going to the bottom. You go up the hill, then you come hurtling down the hill. You go to the top, only to end up at the bottom. You start at the bottom, go to the top, and then end up at the bottom again. From the top to the bottom, always ending up at the bottom. At the very bottom. I seem to have lost my train of thought.
The Memoirs of Jerry Boyle, brought to you by Haines Sweetbreads, bottlers of sweetbread since 1973.
So Jag Baduria gets elected to the House of Commons, and then, turns out, he lied about being a lawyer and wrote threatening letters to the Toronto School Board. So now, the people in his district want legislation passed that would force this man to resign. Now, I sympathize with these people, but are they mad? Do they think it's practical that a politician would be fired just for lying? Let's be wary about what we're wishing for here. Nothing would ever be accomplished. There would be a by-election in every Canadian riding every other week. Forget having a social life or getting up to the cottage at all. We'd spend our entire life stuffing ballot boxes. No. If there's anyone to blame in this situation, it's the media. It's the watchdogs of the nation that let the whole bogus law degree slip by in the first place. The Eric Mallings of the world were asleep at the wheel, and now, as a result, the crowd up in Markham are stuck with this crazy MP who's loose with the truth and has a history of making bizarre statements. But, hey, this is not a unique situation in Canada. Like, I was stuck with John Crosby for 17 years every month. Dear constituent, the fish stocks are growing like crazy and Sheila Kopp should lie down and love me again. No. Don't worry, Markhamites. All things, like John and including Jag, will pass.
In the Muslim world, a man can divorce his wife by repeating the word talaq 3 times. A woman from Brampton, Ontario, says her husband has recently converted to the Muslim faith, but the reason for his conversion is highly suspect.
It's a busy lunchtime, just like any lunchtime at any other luncheonette in any other world. Barb Campbell seems edgy today, however.
Finish your eggs.
Talak.
What?
Talak, that's 2.
Sure, there's 2 eggs sunny side up.
Do you see any hash browns on that plate?
You never said hash browns. There was no hash browns on that order.
Where are the hash browns on that plate?
There was none on the order. I quit.
Tap.
See, ever since Peter became a Muslim, he can divorce me just like that by saying talak, 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 like that 3 times. I mean, it don't matter if I say it, right? So I got to do just what that fuss budget has in mind, or... my dear, he got me raftered.
See, the Muslim faith is a wonderful faith, right? 2 talaks, she's on the hop. 3 talaks, she's out the door. And then, if she wants to come back with me, she got to go away and have the intercourse with my older brother Harold. And she don't want that, do you?
No.
See, they never had anything like this in the Church of England. Look at it this way. A divorce would throw you $2,000-3,000. Cost me $9 to become a Muslim.
I think it should be illegal for someone to change their religion, right? And there's no Muslim church in this area. And that divorces me. I'm out on my arse, just like that, with 2 huskies and a kid. I'm sending away now for books on African religions to see if there's one that gives him the shaft.
Until then, I just had to put up with it, I guess. And he used to have really nice hair, too, and now he puts all this Muslim stuff in it. Get away from me.
The situation in Somalia is explosive and continues to worry the world. We hear continual reports of military rule and mob violence. We talk now to our foreign correspondent, Tim McMillan. Hello, Tim.
Hello.
Tim, can you tell us what it's like under military rule? Can you tell us what the feeling is in Mogadishu tonight?
No.
Why is that, Tim?
I'm not in Somalia. I'm at the airport.
Which airport, Tim?
Vancouver.
Why Vancouver, Tim?
I thought I'd take a different route, west instead of east. Apparently, I'll have to stay in Hawaii overnight. I can get a connecting flight if they're not booked, but I may not get out until the weekend. And quite frankly, I was wondering if there was any point going into Mogadishu. I have a feeling I might have missed the whole story. I know Clinton says 6 to 8 months, but I have a feeling that things might just blow themselves out by week's end. If that's the case, maybe I could just do some kind of story from Maui.
I think you should head on back, Tim.
I seem to have a bad connection, Frank. I can't quite hear you. I'll call you from Hawaii. Aloha.
Thank you for that report, Tim.
It's time to play Judges Say the Darndest Things. And let's start right in with question number 1. Who said rules are like women? They're made to be violated. Steve Studd from the adult film Babes, Babes, Babes and More XXX Babes, the Marquis de Sade, or Quebec Court Judge Denis Dion? And the answer is, of course, Judge Denis Dion! Question number 2. Who was overheard to remark that a 3-year-old child had been sexually aggressive? American shock jock Howard Stern on a particularly repulsive broadcast? Hunter S. Thompson, so hopped up on wild turkey and speedballs that he'd lost all reason? Or County Court Judge Peter Vanderhoop of British Columbia? And the answer is Judge Peter Vanderhoop! Next. Sometimes a slap in the face might be all she needs and might not be such unreasonable force after all. Real Valentine sentiments from Sean Connery being less than discreet in an interview, Michael Douglas almost any day of the week, or Judge Ken Peters of the Manitoba Provincial Court. And the answer is, of course, Judge Ken Peters! Stay tuned next week when this hour looks at the gaffes of those crazy Canadian coppers when we play Police Pummelings on Private Person's Parts.
Does your country have long red lines? Does your capital city suffer from blackouts, from power surges? Are your people unhappy? Yeah? Well, take a look at our neighborhood. Hardly fair, is it? Fair schmear. We're NATO, you're not.
NATO. Membership has its privileges.
This hour has 22 minutes is proud to present media pundits Stuart Steed and Steve Steele with The Right Answer. Men, we salute you.
Okay, let's start it all off with Bush and Reagan confirmed liars.
Yeah. And smoking is bad for your health. These men have served their country, served it well. Leave them alone. Parliament plans to tighten tax loopholes.
What kind of country is it where I can't write off a champagne brunch against my own personal income? Thank you very much, Fidel Chrétien. The Bobbitt trial.
Little known fact, Ontario woman cut off her husband's manhood way back in 1991. A Canadian first. Canadian women leading the feminist fight. No bright ideas, honey. debt clock reaches $500 billion.
Please, will somebody listen to me? Chop the minimum wage in half. Let's get this economy going. What is the minimum wage?
You got me. I should know. I own a Burger King.
It's over $3.
It's out of the park.
The Chinese accused of using slave labor.
Well, I like it, but then again...
You own a Burger King.
The Queen breaks her wrist falling off a horse.
I did not know Bob Ray could ride a horse.
He sings too, performed a song on TV. Don't quit your day job, Bob. On second thought, Bob,
Quit your day job. Tonya Harding, is she guilty?
She knows what she wants. She knows how to go after it. There's a girl that just might make it into middle management. The homeless situation.
I feel their pain. I've been there. Hard to believe, but I was once one of the summer homeless.
No.
True story.
I don't give these people money. I do give them free advice. Buy low, sell high.
Diversify.
And maybe get a shave.
And that's the right answer.
Well, that's the way we saw the world this week. For all of us here at This Hour Has 22 Minutes, I'm Sydney Jabisintrick saying good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
I asked one of my elders, Elder, how'd you know it's going to be a heavy winter? Simple, he said, Joey. White man pile wood high. Now don't leave your doggy outside unless it's a husky. Chihuahua, well, they're no good to pull a sleigh, except maybe a Barbie dream sleigh. It's so cold out, it's colder than the floor of my cabin. Jeez. They stole the battery out of my truck. I had to take a luge over here. The roads were a mess, so I took the information superhighway there, A lot of people have been asking about Joe's recipe for mitten stew. Okay, wait for a Chinook. When it all melts down, go out, harvest the mitten from the mittens on the road there. Put it in a big pot. Soak the salt out of it. Add potatoes, carrots, onions, peas, and a little bit of rabbit. Then remove your mitten, Nobody needs that much fiber. It's so slippery out, I had to put 2 10-pound bags of gravel in my boots. It's been so cold there. The other day I had my appendix out and it was chapped.